MouseHunt. Welcome to Feedback Friday. Today is July 10, 2020. My name's Dave. Hello, everybody in the chat. How's everyone doing today? Hello, hello. We have quite a few people. We have 176 people joining. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us in the chat. Brian, Lady Nutsy, KDM. Celine says good morning back at you. Or good afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in the world. Hello, John, Ben, Eileen, Ray, Kyle, Swift, IFL, Jason, Stewart, Amy. Tons of hellos. Well, hello back to everybody. Now, today, we're going to go over Ronza feedback, Ronza suggestions, kind of get everyone's, maybe what their wish list is, as well as kind of the Chromebit format as well. So I thought I'd start off with a quick recap in case you don't recall last year, or if you are new or weren't around last time she came. Last year during Ronza's visit, Chromebits could be found a week ahead of her arrival, as well as during her 2-week visit. And those Chromebits, they could then be spent at her shop when she landed for a variety of items such as Fireball Fuel, Tower Mana, Wild Tonic, more things like that as well. A lot of kind of the some of the premium items or some of the little booster items that are in areas. If she was going to bring something new this year, I think Champion's Fire would be a good fit there as well, just kind of looking at the new things that came out. Queso Geyser came out as well, but I believe Wild Tonic was already for sale, so that would be of interest for the Geyser. And on top of that as well, there's a progress bar. And actually, maybe I should have grabbed a screenshot of that as well. But there's a progress bar, and looting 100 Chromebits and then 200 Chromebits. Those two milestones earned hunters a Chrome upgrade kit voucher. So there's a maximum of 2. And when she landed, those could be exchanged along with gold, of course, so Ronza's main currency, for her various Chrome upgrade kits, or alternatively, a crate of ultimate luck charms. So that's kind of a quick recap of how she worked last year. And we're looking to see if you'd like any changes made to that Chromebit format as well, kind of off the bat. Spagar's here. Oh, that name looks familiar. Say long time no see. Well, good to have you back. Senef says 9 a.m. Woke up early for this. Well, thanks for joining us. Hello from the Philippines. Well, hello from Canada back at you. New skin for the event horizon. Yeah, kind of where we're at. We put together a design proposal. The team went over. We did our whole bunch of brainstorming as well. And now we're kind of at the phase we want to get a bunch of player impressions, feedback, suggestions, and next week start firming up that proposal into more of a document that we can start development on. Chromebits is back. That is the plan. Feel free, any feedback on the Chromebits or any changes you'd like to see made to that. Jonathan says, ooh, Chromebits for Champion's Fire would be nice. I think that's a pretty good fit as well. Don says a cork base that costs 500 cork. That might be a better suited reward just for adding it to the geyser if it was that type of thing, or the Queso Canyon region. This is Misa's Chromebits with a frowny face. Maybe you can expand on that. CH Wong says Chrome Rift weapon. Haha, that's interesting. We were discussing that while we're looking over all the power types and what new Chrome upgrade kits could exist. And one interesting thing to keep in mind is that we are working on the floating islands. So that does mean kind of Ronza's visit might be a little relatively smaller scale than some visits in the past to make sure we can stay focused on the islands. But the islands also involve every power type except a Rift. So that puts it in a bit of an interesting reward, kind of a reward space where there could be new traps for any power type except Rift. So that did... we discussed how Rift might be a strong candidate there for Ronza. Stuart says a Chrome Infinite Labyrinth trap. TJ Mason says staples the EMP 400, the Lantern Charm, Super Cactus. I think Super Cactus, they were retired. Ronza ran out of her supply, but now they can be permanently found in Varmint Valley. Arn Migan says something useful for the floating islands area. That was something we discussed as well, but didn't quite want to paint ourselves into a corner if it isn't quite firmed up. In case something changes, we might not know what it is. And then as well, it's difficult to buy something and know how much value it has before you know what it does. So that makes it kind of an odd decision to decide, well, how many am I supposed to buy? We could put a limit on that, of course, I guess. But in case something changes, and then whatever that item for the floating islands that you would bring, if that wasn't a good fit, when the floating islands was complete, that would be a little bit of an awkward spot. So we thought, well, maybe we won't touch that. Chan says parental LOL. Maybe, you never know. Yeah, parental type blast from the past. There is already a Chrome nanny bot. Andrew says exchanging Chrome bits for some tower secrets. Secrets and sigils are the one kind of item that you won't readily find available because they're tied to kind of adventure progress in the same way how light and bloodstone is. So it might be something to help boost your drop rate, I think might be considering, but straight up giving them to them, then somebody could show up and they could get all the Valor Rift upgrades without doing a single hunt in the area, and it feels like that kind of takes away some of the fun journey of actually accomplishing it. You're kind of like, wait, I'm done, but I never started it. I didn't get to play the game. Oops. Chrome Minotaur base. That would be an interesting niche power-up for the Labyrinth. A second Charm Conduit. Well, for now that has been laid to rest, the Charm Conduit. Marvin asks, will there be new Chrome upgrade kits this year? That's the kind of feedback we're asking for. Mona says virtual sandwiches being sent to you from Dublin via Edinburgh. Excited regardless what you do. I don't know if I quite follow what you're saying there. Kayam, sorry if I'm mispronouncing this, is showing some love for Rift Trap and or base. Bring back Ellie Event Horizon. Well, limited edition. I mean, you never know what the future may hold, but limited edition's kind of just that. Once it's gone, it's gone. It doesn't come back. Now, if we were to redo things in present day, would we repeat limited edition the same way it was? Maybe not, but it's kind of part of the game, and it might be a little bit frustrating to change that after the fact. So, no plans to make limited edition stuff come back. Brian asks for an ultimate Nightlight charm for Fort Rocks using animatronic birds to buy. It's like Ultimate Anchor, but in Fort Rocks, 100% catch rate with a chance to pop. Yeah, that's interesting as well. The birds do have a nice secondary use. You can sell them back to the shop for gold as well. KDM says, will Toothlets still be sold for 1 Chrome bit now that Prestige has surpassed Denture? Yeah, no plans to change the cost of a Toothlet. We did discuss about a Denture base upgrade, and that might be a good opportunity because it is an item Ronza brings. Monica says, bring back Trawling Charms and the Ultimate Iceberg base. The Ultimate Iceberg base is LE, so it won't come back. I think it is a very popular candidate similar to the Living base and the Hothouse base. Have it return as a permanent addition to the Iceberg. Riptide Charm, so we don't have to wait 18 hours to finish a map. That's kind of a neat suggestion as well. Kind of feels like the Realm Ripper Charm. Chrome School of Sharks, that would be quite the monstrous trap. We were looking, like I said, we were looking through all the power types. We were a little hesitant maybe on some of them because there might be reward space in the floating islands. And so certainly I think it might be a little bit, or the potential for a little bit of frustration or buyer's remorse if you buy a fancy new trap from Ronza and then not too shortly thereafter an area comes about and says, well, here's an even better trap you can earn. That said, of course, with the floating islands being pretty large scale, it's going to have the second most mice in one release ever. There's lots of room for a kind of a lengthy reward space as well, so some of those traps may, even if that was the case, they may prove useful to help you conquer the floating islands and earn those new traps. Chrome School of Sharks to eliminate all Tritus mice. That might be a good step towards securing the seas indeed. Chrome Celestial Dissonance Trap, please. Yeah, if we were to pick up Rift Trap, I think that would be a good idea. Attack of the Fan is back, says Spagar. Uh-oh. I'm even using an external microphone that is probably about 15 years old, though. It was literally dusty to try to avoid my laptop fan causing microphone noise. I guess a laptop, the cooling policy, does not like encoding video. Kelvin says, anything that guarantees the attraction of a ringleader once the whole crew has been brought. That's interesting. Chrome Spellbook base upgrade would be called the Chrome Book. We'd have Chrome Bits and Chrome Book. We do have a space in our Chrome Bit, though. He says, "Hello, Ronza Rita, my darling Ronzanet, consort of the king, idolized from afar by the famous rock star." That's a nice little poem you cooked up there. I like that. I don't know if I like the consort to a king lyric in there, but the rest seems neat. Script says, "That already exists, Isaac." I think I missed what Isaac said. Realm Ripper Charm. Yeah, I like that suggestion. Another person made mention of it. Chrome base would please everyone. That's been a popular suggestion as well. We've kind of struggled to think exactly what that base could be, because I don't think it would be kind of a best tier base, if you will. It'd be hard to kind of balance it in line with some of the challenging bases that exist to already earn. So for sure, suggestions of what that base might be. Bronze Charm, says Amy, only attracts mice that are not silver crown 99 catches and under. That's kind of neat to help with mapping, although that would be kind of a nightmare to balance just right. I feel like you could kind of game that system a little bit, and as all the common mice get eaten up, there might be kind of the rare mice, which also are typically the very valuable mice, and all of a sudden you're attracting a ton of them. But that said, once you would crown them, I guess that kind of buff would go away, but it strikes me as an item. Every future area that comes out, we got to remember, hold on, these charms exist. Can they be kind of gamed in this area? So that's a little bit of a scary idea, maybe. Espen says, we could buy Chrome maps with Chrome bits last year, right? Or am I remembering wrongly or incorrectly? Can she bring Chrome Slayer maps this year? So I kind of summarized it a little bit here as well, right off the top, was the Chrome bits get spent for some consumable items from her shop, like Fireball Fuel, Tonic, that sort of thing. When you loot 100, you earn a Chrome upgrade kit voucher, and then when you loot 200, you earn a second one, so you can get a max of 2. And then when you visit her shop, you exchange the voucher as well as gold, because that's what Ronza really wants, for the upgrade kits themselves. Alternatively, there was a crate of ultimate luck charms as well. So if you already had all the traps, you had no interest in the Chrome upgrade kits, there was still something to exchange them for. Be interested to hear too whether the crate of ultimate luck charms, that felt a little overwhelming to me. For something that only happens maybe once a year, or something that's limited to only 2 purchases. So I'm wondering, what other kind of consumable stuff would you maybe like to see as alternative cash outs for the vouchers? Brian says, a Chrome member prison core to help bring law closer to other power types. I think there's maybe a little bit more time before we would chrome a law trap and go about that more, and as we add more kind of law areas to the game. Jim says some kind of trade-off charm might be interesting. High power bonus, but takes away luck, and vice versa. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You can kind of tweak your trap setup depending on farming phase versus kind of high power mouse hunting. Polo says, bring more trap spaces that are area specific, so you don't use the same base in every area. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think there's adding a few new niche ones is always kind of nice, so you get a little variety in your setup. You get to look at something different for a while. She should bring something for everyone, says Mahai. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And Chrome Celestial Distant would be very welcome for high-level hunters. We do try to have a little something for everyone. She's certainly built up a good supply of kind of staple items, if you can think of it that way, over the years of kind of things you look forward to. I know I've been on a recent living garden obsession, and so last year I stocked up on safeguard charms, because curses, forget those. I don't want anything to do with dealing with the curses, so I just like to arm my safeguard charms and just put my trap on passive hunting cruise control. I don't think I bought enough last year. I actually ran out. I ended up buying more off the marketplace. Spagar says, Ultimate Charm Baitkeep, probably better for tickets. Yeah, that's interesting as well, especially being something that's non-tradable is kind of a good fit for a consumable like that. Martin says, maybe some new LE Law Trap with 2.5k to 3k power. Chamber Cleaving Charm. Oh, Brian suggests a super extreme and ultimate Ember charm, so we can see how high marketplaces do for one-use consumable charms. It's up there. The Ember Charm is about as close to an ultimate charm as you can get from the marketplace in a lot of situations for sure. HN says, I strongly agree with no more Chrome kits to allow floating islands to have upgraded versions of all power types without creating an odd situation like Chrome Oasis kit did. Yeah, for sure. That's a good example of Ronza bringing a Chrome upgrade for a Hydro Trap, and then the Sunken City was the very next thing to be released, or very close after Ronza, and that brought the School of Sharks, which then quickly outclassed that. Was a little bit of buyer's remorse. Although with many things that Ronza carries, sometimes it is buyer beware, I suppose. But for a lot of other things, it's an obvious choice. Chrome Infinite Labyrinth seems more reasonable, says Stuart. HN says, Dreaded Charm being a Ronza charm is actually a great idea as well as Power Charms. That's interesting. Chrome Skin for Chrome Traps to make them chromier, says Vazian. I know the art team was a little bit apprehensive about doing too much Chrome because it is one of the assets in the game that takes the longest time to render. And so we are kind of balancing that as well with time constraints and art resources needed to continue work on the floating islands. And so a lot of it's kind of, no bad ideas and brainstorming, pooling this all together. And then we're going to kind of prioritize a little bit of that and try to see, okay, what's going to fit the timeline puzzle that we're looking to solve as well. Chrissy says, a chamber cleaving charm. What would you imagine that would do? Mari says, please bring back the Toothlet charges. Yeah, I don't think there's any plans for Ronza not to bring those back. Colin says, your voice doesn't match the person on stream. Uh-oh. I am trying ultra low latency mode on YouTube. Maybe that was a bad idea. That said, I seem to be going pretty well. Not dropping frames. A few. 1% drop frames. This poor laptop, I don't think it's the exact, the best piece of equipment for encoding and streaming video. I should maybe try to use my desktop one time, get it set up. Although I suppose I would need a web camera. That's an important piece of equipment for streaming. A new hit grab horsey. Oh, scrolled out of view pretty fast, so I didn't get to see who suggested that, but that is a beloved trap as well. Actually, just the other day we came across, because I was playing with some YouTube settings, and I came across, I forget the name of the hunter who put it together. They did like a Feedback Friday remix. It was like Feedback Friday for this date, except only the good parts. And one of it was me trying to pet the hit grab horse, but with like the mirrored camera, I was having extreme difficulties there. IFL says, just refresh. Well, there we go. Maybe that's turn it on and off again. Lynn asks, please bring back the physical brace base. I think that does return with all of her visits, but I can't say with 100% certainty. Maybe a hunter in the chat would have a good piece of trivial knowledge there. I'll jot that down to double check as well. Sean says, global catches scrapped. I know that is starting to annoy me as well, just how long that has been sitting in a disabled state. But we're kind of a little overwhelmed with dev work right now, so it is unfortunately still chilling out in the backlog of things that need fixing. It's a little more complicated than a simple fix, and so it kind of needs some significant dev hours devoted to it. So we're kind of hoping once we get the floating islands out of the way, we can get back and start cleaning up some of the little pieces of debt that have piled up while we were working on it. Weak jet charm, please. That's interesting as well, if you don't quite want to go the 250. It says there is a lot of Sunken City stuff in Ronza's shop already. Maybe a new golden upgrade kit, surpassing Chrome with a gilded. I guess we have the gilded theme with a few other traps that we've explored, but we could make it a little different. It's kind of interesting when maybe if everything eventually does have a Chrome tier going above and beyond and going with gold. Mari says, I have seen the brace base returned. That's my recollection as well, but I'm not positive. Pretty sure it was there last year, the year before. Maybe a tactical base brace. More brace bases. Ben says, we don't want any more random chance drop bases. Looking at you, Aurora. Yeah, that's an interesting thing about essences, especially with me dwelling away in the living garden for so long, is that it is quite deceptive just how long it takes to get a high level essence. And so it's interesting in that the way the low tier craft the higher tier, and that crafts the higher tier, and so there's this huge kind of pyramid of crafting. The kind of slow and steady progress makes it feel like you're chipping away at it more. But then when you take a step back and you look at just like the chance per hunt of getting a high level one, it requires so many hunts that to kind of see it on every single hunt is a very different perception for sure. Don says ancient charm upgrades for us mappers. That's a very interesting suggestion as well. I turned off my screen by mistake. That's dangerous. All right. That hot corner. I believe it is Ronza who allows you to upgrade your wealth charms into higher tier wealth charms. Elvin says ultimate geyser base that doubles leaves similar to the living garden base. Might be a little too soon for Ronza to come through with anything quite that powerful for Queso Canyon, or for that matter the Valor Rift, but that is an interesting suggestion maybe for a future visit. Kelly says, unrelated to Ronza here, how about the option to set traps in more than one location? That's quite the game changer, but that would be kind of neat, but it might be a whole different game at that point. Peter says, oh yes, please, on the double spice leaf base. I think I'm going to have to give that the dev seal of OP, too OP, not now. Ronza Aura, please let you drop a % of gold wealth charm aura. She does have an aura. She has the chrome aura. You can get by getting the chrome treasure maps and completing those. And I believe, is it +5 luck, I think? Because chrome is related to luck in the world of Narnia for whatever reason. Ulver says, remember the Warpath Thrasher trap, a charm that worked like that for Valor Rift would be cool, like a reverse nightlight charm. Yeah, it's kind of neat. I like the Thrasher. I just like the design of it too, like with the big arms. This is my impersonation of it. This feels like it would just be kind of clotheslining all the mice in a wave out of your way. Perhaps an LE Wild Tonic base. Maybe you could expand on what that would do. A pointy charms upgrade, says Wong. Yeah, that was interesting. That was maybe something to keep in mind for Halloween. That's where we introduced the pointy charms. I kind of be interested to see how popular those were. I don't think we've kind of even looked into recently how many players are using those. Nafis says a base like the Denture base, but using RSP kind of Toothlet in order to produce massive money bonus each time you catch a mouse. That's an interesting thematic tie-in with the RSP gold. Eric says an ultimate brain charm. Yeah, it might be better suited for Halloween, the time the brain charms kind of come around. Brian says animatronic birds are not sellable to the general store. Hence my suggestion for an ultimate night. Really? It was just the silver bolts, I guess. Max says, I think I'm the only person who wants more skins. Ronza did bring some skins last year as well. I said we're a little bit pressed for time to pick and choose what wares to shop her stock with. Stock her shop with this year. A little word reversal for a second. Maybe not double geyser leaves, but maybe +1 leaf when a leaf is dropped. Yeah, it's a more subtle effect. That is still quite potent for the flaming, but maybe a chance for it to occur. Might be a little too soon. Maybe after the floating items were out, we could look at kind of upgrades for some of the currently newer areas. Upgrade of denture base that uses full teeth. Whew. That's a spicy meatball. What about a base that charges the time split obelisk quicker, suggests Ben. That was interesting. We did have a discussion. We were trying to brainstorm some Bristlewoods Rift related items, both as potential Ronza items as well as potential upgrades for the Clockwork base. And we didn't quite know, we didn't have any ideas that quite stood out to us. So it'd be interesting to see kind of, are there any kind of quality of life things that you would be interested in for the Bristlewoods Rift? Now, bird is sellable to the marketplace. Yeah, I guess it was just bolts. A minnow charm. Yeah, we have toyed around with something to kind of make a Minotaur run to smooth that out a little bit. Hindsight 30-30-30 kind of feels a little off, a little high. Leah says, anything that helps reach a much higher level in Valorith Tower, please. That is going to be very kind of careful touching that very sort of ornate balance of the Valorith Tower. Just because it's tied to the prestige base, so you have to kind of, which is already quite the potent base, so anything that lets you get even higher in the tower would have to be very carefully considered for sure. Sandra says, a base for Zuriel's Folly. We do use it often enough for maps. Yeah, fair enough. That shows up. It is a seldom used trap, I guess, relatively speaking, but you still need to capture it for maps if you're an avid mapper or earning a King's Crown. Elam says, how about an auto charm when applied, sound our horn every 15 minutes? So that's your job to sound the horn. As a hunter, you have to put some effort in as well. Way says something like a treasure, the map chat scrolling, something like a treasure seeker, but converts data include a farming instead. That's kind of interesting. It would not be advantageous in helping you find a specific district, but should your run not quite go as you planned, you get a little bit better of a farming run as an alternative. Magic Nest Dust for Chrome Bits. Yes, I believe so. Maybe I should have actually left that document open. Let me open it on my other computer as to not tax my poor laptop any more than it needs to be. And it's a Google Doc, which certainly uses up a few system resources. Web technology is not the most performant when it gets this complicated. Let me see, what was there? Yes, Magic Nest Dust is what I'm trying to say. Was available last year, and it cost 100 Chrome Bits, and so no plan of changing that, so I think it would be back this year as well. Bloodshot asks, are all the Chrome upgrade kits coming back again? We're interested in feedback as well. So we're asking, would you like to see any changes made to the Chrome Bit format? And that's certainly tied into the format of Chrome Bits and the Chrome upgrade vouchers. Jonal says 30-30-30 is just too little for a mistake. Yeah, I agree. And Wong says 25-25-25 is literally easier than a normal run. Yeah, it's kind of a precarious spot. You almost need like the bar to be a little bit bigger to tune it a little or something. Eric says a Black Widow attraction using SB plus the current rate suck too much even for a treasure map. Well, there are a few little niche tips and tricks there. Let me see here. She's a rare mouse though, for sure. There we go. Oh. I can almost feel my computer starting to sweat from CPU overload here. Interestingly enough, Ronza's shop is the place with the highest attraction rate of the Black Widow. There's a subtle tie in there, but then the laboratory takes the number 2 spot. Bristlewoods Rift base to drop anti-skelly charms more. That's kind of interesting. They're kind of a nice little utility charm for sure. Is it possible to have Ultimate Rift wealth charms? Yeah, that's interesting as well. I think the Bristlewoods Rift added a few of them. You can find them in the Treasure Vault, I think the chamber is called. But not the ultimate tier. Maybe a way to upgrade a mysterious box to a Chrome mysterious box that has resources for endgame. That's kind of interesting as well. Chamber Synchronizer charm while armed. Loot counter drains at half speed. I guess that would be good for farming more potions, farming more time sand. I think it might be a little easier to understand as something that gives you bonus loot that doesn't count towards the bar rather than modifying the speed. But that's interesting. I think its primary interest would be with the time sand. Wei Chun says a special charm card allows you to arm 2 charms while capturing shattering bosses. Well, that's part of the unique challenge of those shattering mice is that you can't use the charm slot against them. Jonathan says, I like having all the Chrome kits available for purchase with tickets, limiting volume. An option for Chrome voucher that those who do not want a kit would be good. Yeah, for sure. I don't think anyone's mentioned suggestions for what else could you spend your Chrome upgrade vouchers on. So certainly, as the years go by, and the fact that she brought back all of them last year, there'll be an increased number of players who aren't interested in picking up any of the kits. So it'd be nice to have some compelling, worthwhile feeling alternatives. Whether that's kind of a big crate of charms to help you out. I think right now kind of the best sort of almost bread and butter charm, I guess, would be a Rift Ultimate Lucky Power Charm, without going into the kind of next stratosphere of charms of Time Split and Ember and that. Time Sand charms that maybe pop and give you more sand when used. I just kind of even like that thematically, just a little bit of time sand in a glass orb, and it's smashing as you go. Chrome Tacky already exists, yes. There was a Chrome Tacky glue trap. Has an awfully high attraction bonus, if I recall correctly, as well. Ultimate Dragonbane charm, please. Yeah, I think we've only gone up to extreme thus far. Yeah, that might be an interesting reward space for floating islands, potentially, as well. Just because it involves some mighty powerful dragon mice. A base with more than 20% attraction rate to finally dethrone the Cheesecake and the WBWT base. WBWT. The Acronym Trivia Challenge. Let me see here. I'm cheating. Wooden base with target. There you go. That was my guess. I had to look at all the bases in the game that start with W. Attraction bonus is one of the more potent bonuses in the game, so it is a kind of intentionally one of the harder stats to come by for sure. That's the equipment that has a higher attraction rate typically isn't as powerful, so that's kind of the trade-off. You can sacrifice catch rate for attraction rate, but it's kind of intentional that it's not all in one. Stuart says, increase the Chrome Bits drop rate, Dave. I think it was pretty good last year. I'm interested to hear what other hunters think. I don't think it was a struggle to get 200. Corky Charm. Yeah, I really like that idea. It's still kind of on the back burner as a good use for excess cork. So mappers out there looking to capture Corky, if they could kind of burn up a whole lot of cork in the process. That would be neat, but I almost think it would be a better fit to have year-round because it's just so utility based that I don't know if it should be something only available for 2 weeks during Ronza. Jonathan says, WBWT, wooden base with target. Min says, have any suggestions for Ultimate Rift Wealth Charms to have Ultimate Wealth Charms become upgradable? Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. I might have to wait till we kind of find a spot to work them in naturally. But then, I mean, Ronza allows you to upgrade the regular wealth charm. So once we kind of had all the tiers, I think it would kind of make thematic sense. You could use the Rift versions there as well. Moro says, Gilded Chrome Slayer Scroll this year, that'd be expensive. Yeah, there was a little bit of, I think, mixed feedback was on the Chrome Slayer Scroll. And I think kind of the mistake there was we thought by putting the word Chrome, it would help theme it to Ronza a little bit. And that combine the rewards of a Chrome Scroll and a Slayer Scroll. But those two are kind of very different in terms of difficulty and reward. So, hindsight, maybe just having one or the other would have been better. So we're kind of considering alternatives for that. Chen says a pity timer for Callow or Ribs. That is called gold. Every time you capture a mouse, you earn some, and then eventually you have enough to purchase one on the marketplace. HN says, I really, really want to see Ronza being tied into Floating Islands lore. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's such a great, strong thematic fit. Even as hunters, you're going to be building your own dirigibles. And even kind of a tie-in of that was where she was finding some of her exotic wares. Jenneth asks, is the marketplace down? Hopefully, what am I trying to say? I certainly hope not. I keep speaking backwards for some reason. Seems to be working okay for me. And I got to sound my horn. Ben says, what if I asked Ronza for an all-mouse scorer? That is definitely on my wish list of features as well. And that's part of the kind of sluggishness of getting the global catch stats up and running, because that would be a good opportunity to kind of refactor how that data is stored to make it more accessible into building a scoreboard where you could check who's caught the most of every single breed of mouse in the game, rather than a curated list of a few of the more difficult or special mice in newer areas anyway. Ronza can bring a voucher or something that can be traded for useful resources in the floating islands. And we touched on that a little bit earlier. We were a little hesitant because some things aren't quite firmed up 100%. So in case something in the design space changes while we're playtesting the islands, then that decision we made during a Ronza release might not make sense anymore. So it's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem. As well as kind of when you're giving something in advance, it might be a challenge to meet expectations when you're waiting to cash something out for so long. I remember way back when the Dragon's Chests, I think it was Dragon's Chests, suffered from that. You couldn't open them right away. We didn't have anything in them yet. And then after hunters sat on them for a while, whatever was inside could never live up to the expectations. Lynn says, my friend just started playing last month, and this is his first Ronza visit. It would be great if Chrome Bits could be traded for lower level stuff, since we'll never be able to afford a skin. Yeah, they have a wide variety of things. That's the nice thing about Chrome Bits, actually, because it's the one thing that you get from Ronza that doesn't involve gold, and lower level players typically have less gold. So kind of everyone's on equal footing there, because every year everybody starts at the same level. And there are certainly some things to kind of help lower, maybe not super low, but mid-game players. A Chrome Charm would be helpful as well, especially as a new player. That's a pretty powerful charm for you. And as you get into the kind of mid-game, there are some Queso Pump charms. Lantern Oil's getting up there at a Duke level, that's for sure. But Rare Map Dust as well, that's applicable at any levels. Even a brand new player might just want to cash out for Rare Map Dust and sell it on the marketplace. And then that kind of solves some of their low gold problems, so then go browse around the shop and spend some of that gold. Aiden says, something to back out of an eruption quicker, perhaps a charm or something. Have mappers deal with finishing a full eruption for stuff. That does tie a little bit into some of the time gating on maps. So it's, again, kind of something that needs to be kind of carefully considered of why there isn't a retreat option there. Nafa suggests a base that consumes magic essence in order to increase any rare mouse encounter, like Shelder, Aether, Chrono, Black Widow. Yeah, possibly. It might be tough to kind of maintain going forward as we add new areas, but if it was more of a curated list. Maya says, I don't have gold because I'm coming back after a while. Well, Ronza can also be an opportunity to earn gold as well. Like I said, using the Chrome Bits to purchase something that's worth a fair bit on the marketplace. You can sell that to another player who's interested in it, and then you have some gold to spend. HN says, what about Pointy Charm being added to regular roster? Worth consideration. Right now it's tied to Halloween, and it's kind of nice. We're trying to find ways to make each event have a little bit of a unique identity, or a few small things that you might look forward to during that event. So obviously the Great Winter Hunt being kind of the loot pinata event of the year has been quite popular. Halloween has been a little bit about the cursed gold that you earn is a good opportunity to get a little influx of gold that you wouldn't otherwise see. Pointy charms as well is a kind of a nice little small thing to tie in. Discount voucher for items sold by Ronza. It would just be a little tough for us to implement. And have to be capped a little bit so it doesn't create sort of a weird decision-making process. If you could collect unlimited of them, you technically wouldn't want to buy anything from her shop until you could stop collecting those coupons, which means kind of the shutdown phase is when we'd have to leave the shop open, stop the drop rate of that so you could fully assess how you wanted to spend things. So kind of a little rough edges around it. Lim says, a tackier glue trap that has 50% attraction rate, relatively high luck. The tackier than tacky glue trap. Mitchell wants a rift spike base for that bulwark. Well, indeed, some of the new areas. So part of a little bit of Ronza, I mean, it's not the perfect fit for that, is to kind of consider what we call compression. And so with a game that's been around for 12 years, there is a lot to do and a lot to go through. And eventually the sort of total gameplay hours that it would take to do everything starts to be kind of unreasonably long, or not really a fun amount of time anymore. So kind of over time, what happens is some of the older areas, we look for ways just to kind of speed them up just a little bit. And so it'll be quite some time before we would kind of speed up some of the new areas. Malcolm says, since we had a bacon base, can we have a steak base too? I forget the inspiration for that bacon base. I think it was an overwhelming player suggestion for some reason, but there's a fascination with bacon for a while. Sharon asks, will Champion's Fire be available for Chrome bits? I think that makes good sense. It's in line with everything else that she brings. So, I mean, if no hunters have kind of negative feedback or kind of strong reasons why that wouldn't make sense, I think that would be logical. A charm when armed when capturing the Absolute Acolyte allow you to bypass the initial Gearworks and go straight to portal selection. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, you do find yourself back at the Gearworks. Some stuff I feel like it's a little, it might be better. It's like permanent unlocks, like nice little quality of life bonuses you earn. Kind of codexes almost do that in a way, where they sit in your inventory and they give you an ability. I think something like that would be neat. I know I really like there was a suggestion to overhaul the Crystal Library and make it have assignments for a whole plethora of areas in the game, and a way of unlocking little bonuses, quality of life improvements to make you that much better in those areas, and maybe even tying in requirements of King's Crowns before you can start one of the assignments. So it's kind of after you've done it for a while, if you even want to get better at that area, you can go through. But stuff like that would be a great fit. Like you complete the Bristlewoods Rift Crystal Library research assignment and it unlocks these little buffs to help you out. Like you get to skip the Gearworks. That would be a good example of those little kind of buffs. Using a voucher to receive a little ship that can give you a special effect like a codex. That was something we thought about as well. Like maybe a little item that you can open it up for. I don't know if we'd want to do an aura, because Ronza already has an aura associated with her. But kind of something like that to give you a neat little effect. But I think it might have to be consumable, because it's the type of thing she regularly returns. And so if it kind of kept stacking over the years, you'd have to keep in mind that it would keep stacking like that. A Chrome Codex that boosts the effect of the Chrome Aura and Chrome Charms. That's interesting. A general Chrome kit that upgrades a trap to any available non-LE Chrome trap. Just from an artistic standpoint, it's difficult, because we'd have to create Chrome versions of every trap in the game, which would probably take the art team until 2030 to finish. I don't know. Chrome takes a long time to render, and we have a lot of traps. Maybe a yearly codex like the New Year's Eve codex. Yeah, that could work as well. Just something, and then afterwards it becomes a kind of a collectible or keepsake. Potion to convert Feroma cheese into the Rift counterparts. That's a little bit scary. That would be a nightmare to kind of get the exchange rate just right, where it wouldn't trivialize the much more difficult Feroma Rift. Ronza Codex, that adds a certain amount of luck power bonus until the next Ronza visit bought with chrome bits. Yeah, that's kind of the interesting idea of kind of a yearly Ronza codex of some sort. Is the teased Dragon Slayer skin coming out this Ronza? No, it ended up being a gilded themed skin that Jacob started working on one feedback Friday Art Edition. And so with that, I think we would slot it for the Relic Hunter season change. That's when we kind of bring out the new gilded stuff. Ronza's Blessing. +1 aura until our next visit could be purchased with vouchers. Ronza's Blessing. I don't know why that name makes me smile a bit. Quinn says +1 toothlets on the marketplace. They are intentionally made non-tradable so that they can be a little more readily accessible than teeth are. So no plans to make the toothlets tradable or to be able to be put back together into teeth, or otherwise they'd have to be much more scarce than they currently are. Colin says, would denture base remain as is? Unfortunate that it is outclassed by the prestige base. Yeah, for sure. I think the two downsides of us adopting the kind of increased prestige base stats were that the clockwork base and the denture base were outclassed a little sooner than we would have liked. So it's kind of a pacing issue. And denture base being a Ronza item is an opportunity to maybe do an upgraded denture base. If not floating islands, might be another spot to address that. We're still kind of putting together a lot of the Bristlewoods Rift ideas that come out as well. We're kind of looking at that through the lens of a clockwork base buff potentially as well. But those two bases, I agree, the pacing's a little bit off. It'd be nice to give them a little bit of a buff, at least some sort of niche effect to make them a little more worthwhile around the Archduke level. And it'd be a little bit longer before you could kind of set those aside and feel good about the amount of time you got to use them for. HN says the Hope Mouse being a universal bonus mouse like Prize Mouse would be a better solution. Yeah, I mean, for sure. When we moved it to the training grounds, we didn't have that bonus mouse functionality, so that's an interesting way to go about it as well. Jonathan says, I saved a ton in hopes of a Rift Trap for Ronza. Ronza Codex equals a Ronza Passport. BizHop asks, how do we get gilded skins again? They are available in the King's Arms for gilded coins, and you earn those by doing the gilded maps, which are available for a limited time at the start of each change of the Relic Hunter season. Way asks, any way to spend my Soul Stone for 2011 Halloween? Nope. Will parental be deprecated during next quality of life update? Potentially with the floating islands. That's been something we've been considered. Just kind of felt like an okay time to address that because it is an update that touches every single power type in the game. So maybe it's time to kind of take care of that, change the power types in the Nanobot, and kind of do away with that little confusing tidbit of parental that can be retired into the game's history. Tradable funneling charms, cherry, gnarled, etc. I believe you can purchase the materials, can you not? Or are they tradable? I think they're tradable. But perhaps not. Here I am checking. Going to the marketplace. Yeah, cherry charms are tradable. And for the low price of 2,000, you can have yourself a cherry charm. Stagnant? Stagnant costs a little more for some reason. And the last one. Something to do with thorns? Sap-filled thorns. That's the crafting recipe to make the name of a charm I can't remember. Glue for gluing back Fulmina Toothlet. No, not. It was very intentional. So the economy of those two things does not allow them to be put back together. Otherwise, they would have to cost more than one chrome bit. So kind of, if you're purchasing the Toothlets, know they are for you to use. You cannot sell them on the market. Chrissy asks, when is Relic Hunter season starting? If all goes according to plan, we'd like to do that in November. We found that was a pretty good time for the changing of the season because it's between Halloween and the Great Winter Hunt. And so doing a new area in November is a little bit awkward in that you might feel like you don't have a full enough time to explore a whole big new area. But a changing of a Relic Hunter season is a little bit of a smaller scale permanent release, or I guess seasonal release, not quite an event, not quite permanent content. So we kind of like to dog ear November for the Relic Hunter season. That said, there's a lot of time between now and then, and we're kind of all hands on deck on the floating islands, so we've kind of everything else is at a lower priority right now. Monica asks, will the Orca skin come back? Was that a Valentine skin, I think? And so I would think that unless it's an oversight, our intention would be to have it return with any kind of incarnation of a Valentine's event. Yeah, I believe that was a Valentine skin. Funnel charms aren't tradable through the marketplace. Not supplies. All right, I'll jot that down. It's more of a bug. They're tradable, but not givable, which isn't a word, but we adopt it as our own word in the code. An idle-like weapon for floating islands would be amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit awkward. I think part of the fun of the floating islands, having all the power types, is that it is going to feel kind of satisfying, right? To be able to put your whole library of traps to use there. So if there is a trap that's specifically designed for it, all of a sudden it's like, but I have all these other traps, and I earn them, and I reach this high-level area that has all the power types, and now I don't get to use all the stuff that I've been earning up to this point. It feels a little bit off. Mind you, it could be kind of a mid-tier thing for, you might not have the best traps in a couple power types, and so that helps you fill the gaps there. Murray says, I'm waiting for Ronza t-shirt in the Grab merchandise store. Pretty please. That's interesting. A base has a chance to protect you against red boxes. There's no base. There's shielding charms. That's a little bit powerful to give to a base. And a little bit awkward in that you'd have to consider, too, whatever stats you put on that base, it may also lower your catch rate such that you miss mice more often, which makes you open to getting more red boxes, and you're also not earning points and gold as quickly as if you were catching more mice. So it would be very tricky to put that in a spot where you can't definitively say, no, this thing makes no sense, or nope, this is the best thing now. So it'd be interesting to kind of put that in a spot where it's a choice whether to use it or not. Mintang says, a base to generate confetti. Why? Confetti being one of the most useless yet plentiful items in the game, but that's part of its identity. Something to give even more. I have a ton of confetti. I don't even know how I got it. I think maybe once upon a time it was one of the free gifts or something like that. Just got ransacked with it. Shielding charms take a charm slot. A base with a chance would be more versatile. Yeah, for sure, but it's tricky with affecting your catch rate to kind of put it in a nice spot, I guess. Spagaro says, I would prefer a new area in November than Relic Hunter season, because new area, well, for sure, but also with time constraints as well. So, I mean, in a perfect world, if you could snap our finger and have new areas come out a lot quicker than they currently do, that would be great. But if we were, all things considered, let's say we're capable of doing 1 or 2 per year, if we can schedule it such that they come out at the end of event season and kind of midsummer, I feel like those are good spots because they don't overlap with events. I'm open to other opinions for sure. But all said, like let's say the floating islands, if we got delayed there, if some stuff come up and it's not ready in time, and if we were choosing to release it in November, we would consider it. It's not like we say, nope, November's totally out of the question. Just all things considered, if we can come up with our ideal schedule, that's a good time to to put something else. Wesley says, okay, not a Ronza suggestion, but could we get the Hope Mouse sometime soon? 2020's been tough on all of us. It is available at all times in the training grounds. It was just kind of it put us in a little bit of an awkward spot where we found ourselves, we were deciding which events were warranting bringing out a mouse in a game, and also didn't want an awkward spot of gamifying just kind of serious real world issues as well, and just kind of making sure the narrative never came across as inappropriate there. So kind of decision to put it in the training grounds, like someone suggested earlier, being a kind of a global prize mouse, working mouse. That's interesting as well, something worth considering. I don't know if we would kind of have time to overhaul it right now, but it was an interesting suggestion for sure. A theme skin that changes your look based on your rank. That's kind of interesting, although if you didn't like the way it looked at the higher rank, you might be a little bit sad when you level up. The ultimate meadow base to help you out in the most difficult of hunting areas, the meadow. Elam says, please make Big Jack a permanent feature after Hunter managed to hunt 100 Calor. This way Hunter has shown effort, not having to keep spending too much time to getting queso afterwards. Yeah, I mean, it's something worth considering, making it a permanent thing. There's different elements to her. Some of it is the bonus loot event, so the kegs. That's just kind of a straight up buff, and it's especially nice because without the use of a remote pumping charm, you can get bland queso throughout the region by getting those kegs. So that's kind of a small, kind of modest bonus loot event part of it. The other part of it is trading up your leaves, where you're exchanging resources to save time, but you don't come out ahead per se. You get to accomplish something quicker because you get to craft up your cheese. But if you were to actually invest all the time and hunt with the mild, hunt with the medium, hunt with the hot, hunt with the flaming, you'd end up with more mouse catches, more loot, more gold as a whole, than shrinking it up and just doing fewer hunts with kind of the hot and the flaming, if that makes sense. So as a permanent addition, I guess there'd be a choice there, but it's more about, hey, if you're sitting on 5,000 mild leaves, which takes time to accumulate, then's your chance to kind of decide, well, I'm not interested in doing however many thousand of hunts with mild cheese. I'll never have time to use it all. Shrink it all down. I don't care. And you can see how high you want to exchange up. HN says, how about a Hydro weapon that has power bonus against the Eclipse mouse? That sounds incredibly useless. An extra charm conduit so you can hunt with 2 charms at the same time. Is it possible? No, I don't think so. It'd have to be taken into account right from the get-go. So it gets a little too messy to kind of account for all the use case scenarios of hunting with 2 charms and kind of how that would affect gameplay. So I think the ship has sailed on 2 charms out. Somebody kind of going through, looking at every single charm in the game, every single possible combination of charm in every single area, which that math kind of gets exponential awfully fast, and looking for side effects. BIS says, I think 1 area in between event season is good. That's definitely the minimum we strive for. Base has a 10% chance of dropping an eye essence. Yeah, that wouldn't be overpowered at all. Ronza upgrading the queso factory trap. Well, that is, or no, it's not LE. I don't think that trap is LE. I think that is slotted to return with the birthday event. Here's me checking. Yeah, not limited edition. I love the way it looks too. There's something about the confetti and everything around it. I like how it kind of ties in the artwork of the pump that you have at the river itself. And I like how the one chamber is just full of confetti. Like, what is it doing? What is it doing there? That would serve no practical purpose to pumping the queso other than just adding some bling and doing it in style. A level 11 pump for a voucher, says Martin. That was something we considered with Big Jack. Originally, you're going to collect these little heat-resistant cogs, and when she comes, you get the opportunity to build your level 11 pump, but it didn't quite flow nicely. It didn't quite make sense in the long-term thing, so we opted instead for a bonus loot. HN says, I heard TickGrab hired new developers. How many developers on MouseHunt team now? We did have a developer leave last year to kind of pursue some other technological pursuits, and we actually just did not too long ago find a suitable replacement to get back up to 10, I think now is the team here. I always have to imagine the desks at the office, which gets harder with each passing month of isolation here. But now Michelle, me, Jacob's across from me. You got Lauren, Maxine, Parham, Andrew, Franco, Giorgio, Norman. Yep, 10. I have 10 fingers. I didn't run out of fingers. HN asks, is there enough manpower to create permanent areas more frequently now? That is the goal. That's the long-term goal to get there. Or even new events instead of recycling old ones. Yeah, potentially. I mean, kind of reusing old ones, that was kind of something that kind of hopefully helped free us up and have more bandwidth to work on more permanent adventures. Maya asks, Gold Crown base increase the power a little bit with every Gold Crown mouse? I don't know. Maybe with a cap. Because as the years go by, although as the years go by, bases do get more powerful as well. So it might be possible to work out how to pace that. That said, we never know how many mice are coming out with a single release and how that ties to the progression of other bases. And it is noon. We should shift over to trivia. Let me clear the docket here. And this week's trivia question is, I can't even find it, and I hope I'm right here. I used the, it is a numerical answer. 48 is much too high, though, as Brian's already guessed in the chat. So I used the much appreciated work of the wiki editors, and I attempted to figure this out myself, but as has happened before, I could be entirely wrong, and so maybe bonus points for that. How many times has Ronza visited the kingdom? In the games now, 12-plus year history. There's a very close guess. Mari was oh so close. I think Alex was the first with the correct answer of 15. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, which I wouldn't be surprised. I'm wrong often enough. 15 is correct. I will add a reward link. Put it up here. Numbers are just flowing in the chat. The odds of me making a typo are very high. Especially I feel like the CPU power to encode and stream the video is causing me, when I type, to like kind of lag behind the cursor. We get the reward link handy here. Gadoosh. Oh, make it match. Hello, what's going on here? And which font are we going to go with? Size 256. I think that's going to be a little big on the screen. I'm not sure about that one. All right. And that's a little small. Yes, Attack of the Fans again. I'm surprised if you can hear the fan through. I'm using a microphone. I'm doing my best. Maybe it's time to get an actual quality microphone. I don't know. I think I bought this microphone to play Team Fortress Classic. Probably, I don't know, it's probably 15 years old, so this might be a 20-year-old microphone, I don't know. Could be a little larger. I will put the link in the chat as well so you can click it. Probably should have done that first. That's a little more convenient. Alright, but in case you're watching this recorded, answer 15. Too many colons in there. Brian, thank you. Brian beat me to it, I was just about to paste it. Brian, the skilled cartographer? No. What do you call someone who types stuff out? Transcriber? I don't know if that's a word. Can I center text? No, I don't know how to center that. I just don't have the skill to center it. Yeah, I don't see a... Typographer, says Mike. That sounds better. Transcriptionist. That's a mouthful. I keep thinking it's my fan and pausing the video. Uh-oh. Maybe I should like move this further away. Hello, I'm sit over here. Let's slide this over a little bit. There we go. Find a nice spot for that to land. Wiki says 16, says Michelle. Uh-oh. Yep. Am I wrong? Are you sure? Can we confirm? Ben too likes playing the Pyro in Team Fortress. That was my favorite class as well. It was underpowered in Team Fortress Classic, so I think I liked the extra challenge of playing something that was a little tougher. The upset, oof, says Riziki. Riziki. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. All right, let's see here. What does the wiki say? We got Ronza. Uh-oh. See, that makes a lot more sense where Michelle went to look up the answer by going to the Ronza article on the wiki and counting all the visits. Whereas I went to the timeline, I hit Control F, and I tried to curate any other mention of Ronza other than her arriving. So the answer is not 15. She didn't come in 2010, so that would have been an interesting little piece of trivia as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The answer is 16. What can I say? The answer is not 15. It's forever documented. The double down of December 2008, that's probably what threw me off when she came twice in 1 year. Another episode of Wrong Answers with Dave, yep. 4 times in 2008, 3 times in 2009, watch out. Where did the chat go? Four times in 2008, really? That's a lot of air traffic. Yeah, look at that. That Chrome Deathbot. 2008, first visit. But one of those, she only brought one thing. All right, well, at the hour 10-minute mark here, we'll wrap things up. Thank you for joining me, Hunters. Thanks for all these suggestions. Been keeping a few stream notes here as well. I'll post a summary on the tavern section of the forums where if you watch this recorded, you can also kind of chime in with more suggestions there. Or there was a recent post on the Facebook page as well about this Feedback Friday, and we were looking through comments there as well for feedback and suggestions. And as well, I think there is a forum thread. Let me dig that up. I closed my instant chat, but I'll open that back up. And I wanted to double check which section of the forums. If I had to guess, I'm going to say Tavern. And no, it's in Other Stuff Ronza. That makes a lot more sense. And Michelle put up a Letters to Ronza thread as well. So no shortage of places to go and log some suggestions for sure. Vincent says, when an in-game sniper leecher system? We are still considering it for a potential Relic Hunter season update, but there's a little bit of rough edges on that too, about kind of officially putting it in, so nothing new to share. Ending already? Yes, we are coming to an end here. Today was a little bit of a longer Feedback Friday, even actually over the hour mark here. George says, I wondered why Asnor's GameStop just never caught on. And Stuart says, I still want to ask about traps we have on the floating islands. We'll kind of maybe save that for a future Feedback Friday where we'll be getting into floating islands. We do a little bit of a preview as well as kind of get some preliminary feedback on the area as well. That's kind of one nice thing about Feedback Friday. Kind of get to run a few things by you, ask a few questions, and it's a chance to kind of tune things before they come out, which is kind of a nice opportunity. IFL asks, any more time updates with events releases? Well, we are full steam ahead on the floating islands, and kudos to the art team and the dev team for that matter. Just doing a fantastic job. It's been a pretty big workload, a lot of stuff to work through. But so far, we're still on schedule. I'm going to feel good and comfortable about giving them more of a rough release date once the interface is fully implemented, functional, and we play through it in its very first playable state. And then a lot of the uncertainty kind of goes away, because some of the interfaces were some of the more ambitious ones that we've tried in to put into the game. So it's still a little soon to get into rough timelines, but I'll give the vague comment of things are going well so far. King's giveaway in the pipelines as well. Yep. So Big Jack is coming to an end. When is that? I'd have to look at a calendar, and I am very bad with dates. That might be a good two here to wrap up with a few announcements. So Big Jack is going to come to an end on Tuesday, July 14. I'm looking at a calendar, so I'm not getting that day wrong. At 11 a.m. our time, so it's the same time Feedback Friday starts. So make sure you make use of her Leaf Exchange over the next few days if you're looking to do so. And then a King's giveaway as well toward the end of July. Everything's looking good there. We are just putting the finishing touches. Next week, we're going to prepare the mobile builds as well, so you'll be able to look for an update that'll add support for the new King's giveaway ahead of time before the release is out. So that'll probably be July 28th, if all goes according to plan. That's another Tuesday right at the end of July. That'll go for a little bit as well, so still King's giveaway in the pipeline. Big Doug says, see you next Feedback Friday as well. Thanks for joining me. Awesome, thanks. Not a problem. Alex, once you finish the Harbor Adventure, can the Pirate Crew auto-arrive reward claim to aid passive crown? Yeah, that's interesting as well. But stay safe, Dave. Likewise as well, everybody out there. Please stay safe. Take care of yourselves. And treat others with love. Stuart with good advice of practice good hygiene, keep social distancing, and wear a mask. For sure. All right, well, thanks for joining me, everybody. I think Jacob will see you next week, most likely for an art edition of Feedback Friday, and then I'll probably see you the week after that if all goes well. Thanks for joining me, and happy hunting.